Hello guys, welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. I am back with another episode. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message, it was forwarded to me by one of our admins, and the message reads like this. Hello Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my story and hide my identity? I am a man who is aged 34 years. I want to confess what I did to my mother. At the time when I went for these rituals, I thought that my heart was going to be turned and to be made hard like a stone. But as the years has gone by, I have seen that as long as you are a human being, there will always be a little irritating voice that will always remind you of the bad things that you have done. If only I could turn back the hands of time, for sure, Brother Nashi, I could go back into the past and correct all of the mistakes that I did. Because as of late, the guilty feeling has been eating me alive. So I used to follow you a lot on Facebook. Then I started listening to you on YouTube. I tried speaking with you on WhatsApp, but you took so long to respond to my messages. So I ended up deleting that confession that I had sent to you, but I just kept on feeling guilty to the point where I feel that maybe by confessing, God might find a way to forgive me. But for me to tell you this confession in a setting so as to reveal to my relatives that this is what I did, I think that it will be very hard for me. When I had turned 18, I moved out of the village and I went into the city to look for any kind of work opportunity. But what I thought the city life would be for me, it was quite a very different story as to when I had arrived in the city. When I was still in the village, I always thought that the city life was very easy and money will be flying everywhere. When I arrived in the city, I started working in the construction industry. Then we got robbed by our employer until I saw that most of the people that were working in that construction company, they have been working for that man for many, many years without ever getting their proper salaries. As for me, I could not work for such a company. So I then gave up and I started doing my own, but still I worked in that same construction industry. But now I was working for this other man who had this very small company. The company that I was now working for, it made those cement block bricks and they sold river sand. When I was working for that man, that was when I met a man who told me that there was this other man who could assist me so that I could get rich in life. At that time, I didn't even bother to sit down and to think as to why this man wanted me to become rich, yet he was also poor as I was. He was just making the same cement block bricks that I was making. But in the quest of riches, my brother, I then asked him to take me back with him to his village when he would be going back to visit his wife. He kept on telling me that one day we will go, until I raised up some money. When I told him that I had enough money for him and I to get onto the bus, he was really happy because for many, many months he had never had the opportunity to travel back to the village from where he comes from because he didn't have enough money. Most of the money that he was getting, immediately he would then send it back to his wife so that the wife can have something to eat with the kids. When we went there, the rituals, as I had been told by that man, indeed it was true. The rituals would require the blood of any of my relatives, but whom it was going to be amongst my relatives, I had no idea at all. So by the time that I had saved enough money for the trip, then we got onto the bus. Since this man was from another province, and from that same province from where he came from, that was the place where that man whom he had said to be very powerful was staying. We traveled for a day and a half from the capital city of our country going to the next province. When we arrived at that man's house, we then further traveled from the location where his home was, going further into the villages. which were like in the remote areas. By the time that we had arrived at that powerful traditional healer's place, I had already given up because of this long journey that we had embarked on in quest of wealth and power. When we arrived at his consulting rooms, I could not even believe what is it that I was seeing, because there were a lot of people that were all looking for their own kind of miracles. Most of the people that were gathered at that traditional healer's compound were his former customers and clients. And this thing, for a moment, it troubled me, because even though there were a lot of people at his compound, but most of his customers had came back to him, and the state in which they were in, my brother, it really troubled me. And at that time, I think that was when I was supposed to return back to the city and try and work very hard so that I can succeed in life. But once you have told yourself that you want to get rich using all of these rituals, I think that maybe the devil will put a blinding curtain on your eyes so that you cannot see everything that will be happening in reality, because you keep on telling yourself that everything is going to be okay. So most of the people that I met there, it seemed as if their relatives had just came with them just to dump them there. A lot of these people, they were kept in those many rooms that were there at that traditional healer's compound at all the times. These people were kept in chains. From what I heard was that some of those people who were once his customers were now mentally challenged people from the same traditional healer who was now keeping them hosted, forever locked up in those chains in different rooms that had been built at his compound. So his former clients or customers had failed to perform their requested sacrifices, and most of them had ended up losing their minds. So these people, it was said that they would be kept in that place until they would die. At that time, Brother Nashi, one would think that I should have stopped going any further with these rituals that I was intending to do, seeing how much suffering there was in that homestead. But as people who were chained up kept on screaming and shouting as if they were going through severe pain, I chose to block those screams of agony, and I chose to focus on becoming someone who was very financially stable, because this is what I had traveled all the way from the city coming to this remote village to do. So no kind of suffering and pain was going to make me think otherwise. This is what I told myself at that time. And at that traditional healer's place, what they do, my brother, they are very clever, because with each and every step that you are supposed to complete, they keep on asking you if you want to go any further. And I told them that I was tired of poverty.